Charles Bukowski was a famed author and poet who wrote about topics of social, cultural, and economic importance. But at the age of 49, no one knew his name. This is because Bukowski was working at the post office at the time and struggling for consistency and focus in his writing. That all changed in 1969 when publisher John Martin of the Black Sparrow Press gave Bukowski the opportunity he had been dreaming of. Martin offered to pay Bukowski $100 a month for the rest of his life if he agreed to quit his job and become a full-time writer. Bukowski jumped at the opportunity, and a few weeks later he published his first novel, Post Office. The book would propel Bukowski to critical acclaim and provide him a solid foundation to build his prolific career. In 1986, 15 years after publishing his first novel, he wrote a letter to John Martin, who had changed his life all of those years earlier. In the letter, Bukowski wrote the following: "They call it 9 to 5. It's never 9 to 5. There's no free lunch break at those places. In fact, at many of them, in order to keep your job, you don't take lunch. Then there's overtime, and the books never seem to get the overtime right. And if you complain about that, well, there's another sucker to take your place." You know my old saying, slavery was never abolished. It was only extended to include everyone. And what hurts is the steadily diminishing humanity of those fighting to hold jobs they don't want, but fear the alternative worse. People simply empty out. They are bodies with fearful and obedient minds. The color leaves the eye. The voice becomes ugly. And the body, the hair, the fingernails, the shoes, everything does. As a young man, I could not believe that people would give their lives over to those conditions. As an old man, I still can't believe it. What do they do it for? Sex? TV? An automobile on monthly payments? Or children? Children who are just going to do the same things that they do. Now in industry, there are vast layoffs. Steel mills, dead. Technical changes and other factors of the workplace. They are laid off by the hundreds of thousands, and their faces are stunned. They never pay the slaves enough so they can get free. Just enough so they can stay alive and come back to work. I could see all this. Why couldn't they? I figured the park bench was just as good, or being a barfly was just as good. Why not get there first before they put me there? Why wait? I just wrote in disgust against it all. It was a relief to get this shit out of my system. And now that I'm here, a so-called professional writer, after giving the first 50 years away, I found out that there are other disgusts beyond the system. I remember once working as a packer in this lighting fixture company. One of the packers suddenly said, "I'll never be free." One of the bosses was walking by and he let out this delicious cackle of a laugh, enjoying the fact that this fellow was trapped for life. So the luck I finally had in getting out of those places, no matter how long it took, has given me a kind of joy, the jolly joy of the miracle. I now write from an old mind and an old body, long beyond the time when most men ever think of continuing such things. But since I started so late, I owe it to myself to continue. And when the words begin to falter and I must be helped up stairways, and I can no longer tell a bluebird from a paperclip, I still feel that something in me is going to remember, no matter how far I'm gone, how I've come through the murder and the mess and the moil, to at least a generous way to die. To not have entirely wasted one's life seems to be a worthy accomplishment, if only for myself.